Is it? All coming through?
Yeah.
It's all good?
Yep.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Okay, so we are on version 3. That's not my hops in the main picture there in the current house. That's from the previous house. I know some of you guys will have been there for various gatherings that we've had over the years. So it's I'm aiming for something like that again next year when we don't have a bloody hose pipe ban and I can water the sodding things. So I'd bugger all off mine this year because it will just basically dried up. I'm just hoping they're still alive for next year. Why is it not playing? Let's move it out of the way.
You've only got one slide.
No, there's not. There's a whole set of bloody slides.
Not on this presentation, there's not.
Yeah, not on this one.
There's not.
It's
Is
the
it?
title page.
Let me start PowerPoint fresh and see what happens. Is that any better? That's better.
That's
Yes.
the one.
Great. Right. Come on. Where we go in slideshow. Oh, we're off now. That's it. Okay, a bit of background for those who don't know what I'm about. Yeah, I'm one of the older ones of the group. I've been homebrewing for quite some years. Mid-90s, when the whole do-it-yourself operation was kicking off, we actually had a unit in the middle of Watford town centre, and you could come along and brew on our premises and you didn't pay any duty on it. We sort of looked after it while it's fermenting for you, and then you'd come back in a week, 10 days time or whatever, and you would bottle it or put it in your king kegs and take it away. There was a couple of others around the country as well at the time, but yeah, they all sort of folded sort of fairly rapidly after a couple of years. I know that's the whole sort of business model that Ubrew tried to emulate. And it really doesn't suit the UK sort of demographics, I don't think, because there's various people who sort of looked at it over the years, and you know, as far as I know, there isn't one around at the moment, unless Nick is going to sort of reinvent the wheel and suddenly make $1 million out of it. The bottom picture there is the setup that I used to have in my old house. You might see some similarity between the big copper thing in the middle of the picture and the ones in the top picture. Yeah, before we went bust, I thought I've put a lot of money into this business. I'm not going to go away empty-handed. So we managed to get in and remove some of the kit before the landlord locked the doors on us and everything. So I got a bit of stuff out of it. So I thought I'm going to reuse that in my own sort of setup. Like several other guys on the group, I am licensed with the HMRC. I'm in the process of going through the whole AWRS at the moment. So I want to see if I can get that up and running. And I've got a couple of pubs already that are willing to take a cask every sort of 6 to 8 weeks off me when I get up and running. So if that doesn't go according to the plan, then I won't do sort of commercial stuff in that vein. I may even go back to bottling and may even start canning it and sort of just do local craft fairs. And so there's plenty of gift shops around here in the New Forest, and we are in the New Forest, so I can actually make use of a little accreditation called the New Forest Mark, and that sort of designates that any produce that's produced by people, whether it be sort of sausages, beer, or whatever, you know, in the New Forest, and it can get sold throughout, and you get a little bit of extra oomph for your money, sort of thing. So we've been down here for just over 2 years now, and the whole point of moving was a couple of things. And the house we actually chose was not because I could get a new brewery in it, but there's lots of things about the house that we decided that was going to be the house for us. But the one benefit was it had a large tandem garage that's like 35 foot long. So we have a plan, and decided I was going to make sure that we can actually get the brewery installed in there. Similar sort of space to what we had there set up in the old house, but we've got a few extra bits that I wanted to get in place. We'll see. I've got a detailed slide coming up, but the main thing were I want to have sort of drainage in the floor like a proper brewery, so you can swab out and spillages. It's easy to wash down, etc. And the other one was have a dedicated big electrical supply coming off the main fuse box in the house. So that's a rough sort of plan here of what we got, and that's how we're basically set up at the moment. So right at the very end, you've got your hot liquor tank, mash tun in your copper, and then you've got your heat exchanger, etc., and pumps on the end. Bottling bench, sink. I've got a malt mill, which is actually on casters, so I can move it around. I've got a kegerator, little gas setup on my gas board there. I've got a large fermentation cabinet, which is home built out of king span and bits of 2x2, etc. So keeps the FVs in there. So a quick schematic. Basically, that's on that back wall there. You can see slightly different to, I suppose, even a fairly exaggerated or complex homebrew setup, is that similar to a commercial setup, all of your warm water coming out of your heat exchanger, I actually feed it back into the hot liquor tank. So we're actually capturing all that hot water following the cooling of your wort. And that just gives me sort of 60, 70 litres of nice hot water so I can use for washing up with, etc. And I don't have to sort of waste water that way. Okay, original plan was to just get everything started in January, but my builder ballsed up big time. And he didn't start he was supposed to have started last September, and he didn't start until beginning of February, this end of Jan, beginning of Feb this year. So that pushed us back by a big time. Part of the whole sort of conversion was to take a piece off the garage and convert it into the bathroom for an annex that we've got here. It's all linked together as part of the house, and the mother-in-law moved in end of June, July time. So we had to make sure the annex was all done before we could actually crack on with getting the brewery installed. So you can see there, we got massive big supply coming in off the main consumer unit. So I've got 10 mil cable coming in. So that gives me capacity to run sort of 9 kilowatts just in the garage side. Proper brewery floor, drainage, etc. And a little sort of schedule there with basically what's happened. So in March, the new walls went up. We got some pictures in a minute to sort of show you all the bits and pieces. April, new flooring went down. May, stud walls got up. June, I put all the hygienic cladding in, and the floor coating went down. July, August, we were putting in all the kit, all the plumbing, all the electrics. September, I was hoping to get a test brew done, but that didn't happen. We ended up doing it today, believe it or not. It's the first brew I've actually managed to get out of it. So, yeah, we've had a few other hiccups along the way. Mother-in-law's decided that she's staying now, and we had to get on and get her house on the market in Hemel. So I've been down there several weekends getting the house sorted out down there. So picture time. So you can see the little bit of door we've got up there, that's the main part of the garage. This piece in the middle is, there used to be a conservatory in the middle here, linking the garage and the other part of the house. Basically, that was like a day room. On the other side of that, if you sort of come to the right-hand side, there's what we used to call a plant room. The house we bought had an indoor pool, quite a large indoor pool that was repurposed into a large kitchen breakfast room. So we had no room for all the plant room where all the filters and the pumps and everything else for the pool was. So we decided to, that's part of her annex now, and that's where all the kitchen is. But we had to put a bit of an extension in, so all the foundations going in there. There was two walls, the both walls that have actually come out. The one here, which is the back of the garage. There's the new wall going up, and the new wall in the actually from the garage side. You can see from that photo there, the garage door on the front of the house is way down there. So it's plenty of space to get a brew going. So there we go. The new wall's up. You got first part of the new concrete floor in, raised up so we can get the drainage in. Stud wall partition going in, so that separates the garage workshop from the brewery. All the hygienic cladding going in. If anyone's going to have a go at doing this with 8x4 sheets of 2mm plastic, you want at least 3 people, I think. I mean, even 2 people, we struggled because it's so flimsy and it's a large sheet. I mean, plasterboard is bad enough on an 8x4 sheet when you're trying to handle that. But this stuff, it's got no rigidity to it. And it's just flopping around like nothing else. It's real bitch to put up in and get stuck on the walls.
What did you have to stick it up with?
I've got went through several different parts of adhesive. The normal sort of grip fix, that didn't work. I moved on to something else. Bits of silicone, bits of it worked, but you've got to actually wedge it in place. Eventually I came up with from Screwfix or something called I think it's called a multi-fix or multi-stick. And that seemed to be about the best option. You can buy special adhesive from the guys that sell the panels, but it's bloody expensive. And it's just ridiculous. And I would cost it out how much I would need. And I'm sort of talking maybe another 150 quid just for the adhesive, on top of the sort of 150 odd quid that I've spent for the plastic. So it's just, we'll find a way around it.
Aren't they often put on a timber frame, Mick?
No, I mean, you can, if you get, bearing in mind this is only 2mm thick, so to try and tack that onto a timber frame, I wouldn't want to do it that way. I mean, it is designed to be sort of put straight onto walls. So, bottom right-hand picture, we've got the second half of the flooring gone down and the primer for the floor coating. I know Fraser was asking a couple of months ago about where I was going to get my floor covering from and what do I reckon on it. Well, we'll see in a minute. You see, we got open vaulted ceiling because the garage isn't flat roof. It's got a pitched roof on it, and you can see it's quite open here. And this is when I had my health inspection last month. This is what the health inspector was saying. I can't have an open space above the brewing area. That's all got to be covered. So I'm not covering up. He can go take a flyer, can't he? He's only got to go down to anybody working historic brewery to see they don't have their ceilings covered, do they? So.
Did he give an explanation, Mick, as to why the ceiling needed to be covered?
Yeah, he said it's got to be pest proof, and he thinks because the ceiling's open, we can get pests coming through.
They should have a look at some of the breweries in the Arches in London Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even just visit some of the old ones. I mean, go down to St Austell or somewhere like that, or Green King in their old part of their original Victorian brewery. I mean, it's all open, isn't it? So anyway, back to the build. We've got nice yellow flooring on now. So that's the top coat has gone on there. When I put down the primer and the top coat, it only happened to be those really hot few days back in July. Was it? Yeah, July. It was like 30 degrees. So I'm out there at 5:30 in the morning because it's not quite so hot, trying to get this stuff down. Because even at 20 degrees, you've got 20 to 30 minutes work time. And that's it before it starts to solidify and go like really sticky, horrible, gungy stuff. Yeah, I got through a couple of rollers and a couple of paint trays with it because it all just solidifies. So, but no, it's gone on quite well. I wish we'd had a better screed put down on there and made that more level. I've got a few undulations on the floor. And I found out today when I was sort of cleaning up and squeegeeing down the floor, it's the odd pooling here and there, but it's okay. It's not like deep pools where you got an inch of water, it's just on the surface. But overall, I think it was money well spent. I mean, it goes rock solid. It's got a separate hardener that you have to mix with the floor. Again, it's not cheap, but it's a proper brewery floor, industrial floor paint. And you get it from a place called Resin Coat. And on one of my last slides, I've got your web address for you and everything. So if anyone wants to coat their garage floor with it. So we've got flooring done there. Here's your floor again with all the hygienic panels installed. We've then got a few bits of kit starting to plan out where everything's going to go. So mash tun right on the top here. Sorry, hot liquor tank, mash tun, and then your copper down the bottom. Heat exchanger, various control panels. Right over here, nice big deep catering sink. I think we when Arthur showed his brewery a couple of months ago, he's got something similar in his garage place. Yeah, and a nice deep sink. I mean, that's probably about a foot deep. That is, it's brilliant. So, plumbing in progress with all various bits and pieces. You see right at the very top, water comes in across from the annex because it's just sort of we've got a large roof space that joins the main part of the house and the annex, and it's all covered in with a pitched roof. So all my services are coming in through the roof space. Top here, we've got one of those activated charcoal filters. And that just strips out all your chlorine, chloramine, stuff like that. And it does a little bit of filtration as well for me. So that then feeds down, and then down the bottom here, that's going to feed into ready for the heat exchanger, any water I need into the copper. And then right over the top here is really feeding down. That's the water feed for the hot liquor tank.
Mick, what's your water like down the New Forest?
It's still pretty hard. I had a Murphy's analysis done last month. It's not as hard as Hemel, Hertfordshire, etc. around there, but it's still pretty bad. So, but I'm going to see how we go. I mean, so far things like your kitchen taps, shower heads, and that, it's nowhere near as bad as Hemel. But
you planning to RO your water?
No, I shan't bother. I just make use of gallons of CRS. So there's my fermentation cabinet. A little Maxi 1 and 10 chiller there. And there's your standard, the old style ATC unit, the great big chuffer that's bigger than a postage stamp, rather than the little letterbox things you get nowadays. I've had that for a long time. I bought one of the first things I bought when I got into my home brewing to allow me to have fermentation control. The downside of the old ones is you can't lager with them because they won't go below 2 degrees. So it's the only downside, but I don't do much lagers anyway, so it's fine for my use.
Sorry,
there's
Mick, sorry, Mick, did you is there any ventilation, like forced mechanical ventilation in that you've got, or were you thinking you wouldn't need it with the roof space?
I thought about, well, I wouldn't need it to start with, but then when we had the builder doing various stuff on the roof to sort of with the annex and with the joining of the two parts of the house together, we had some sort of ventilated roof tiles. So I have now put a kitchen extractor above where the copper is. So, and that's going to be vents out through the roof space. So, I don't think I haven't got a picture of it actually in there. There might be one on one of the other ones in a minute. A couple of references there. You've got for your resin coat. If you click on the link, that'll take you right through to the page that sort of sells their brewery floor paint. It comes in about 10 different colors as well, if anyone's really fancies having a different color. And that's where I got my wall cladding from as well. Again, there's several places online you can get it. So I bought some other stuff. I bought some shower paneling for the mother-in-law's ensuite bathroom at the same time. So I just got it from all the same place. There's not a lot of difference in price, but so equipment-wise, yeah, mains town water. We're not lucky or fortunate or have a few £100,000 to sink my own bore well. So normal mains water with that GAC 10 filter on the top. Hot liquor tank and the mash tun are both 100 litre capacity up to the rim. Hot liquor tank's got 3 kilowatt stainless element in it. And you see, I'm not sure if you can see the previous pictures. We'll try and go back in a minute, but I've got a little tiny one of those, I don't know who's seen them, those little tiny plastic solar heating water pumps. Little 12-volt things, and that actually recirculates the liquor in my hot liquor tank, because where the heater element is, I've got about a 3-inch gap between the bottom of the element and the bottom of the vessel. So that gives you an awful lot of cold water at the bottom, because even just the thermal capacity while you're heating, it still doesn't actually give you a nice even temperature throughout the hot liquor tank. So, but having the pump on there, it helps enormously, and it just gives me a nice even temperature. Again, mash tun, you've got 100 litres, standard perforated false bottom. Both vessels are insulated with 2 layers of camping mat. I don't know if anyone's seen those. It's really thin, sort of 5 or 6 mil blue foam things. And you can get them with foil on one side. And yeah, and they don't feel like they're going to do much good, but they are really, really good. Give you an idea. Well, yesterday and today's brew, I did an overnight mash. First time I've ever done one. Purely because we started late. We had people staying over last night, and my buddy was the cameraman, so I've done lots of filming on the brew as well. So of course we ran out of time yesterday afternoon. So I thought, bugger it, we're going to have to. By the time the hot liquor tank had heated up to my sort of 85, 86 degrees, I thought, no, we haven't got time to do the whole brew. So I did the overnight mash. So just with that 2 layers of camping mat, I only lost 8 degrees overnight on my mash tun. So, and that's since probably 12 hours between 8 last night and 8 this morning. So I didn't think it was too bad. So didn't take much then to top it up with a few more litres of really hot water out the hot liquor tank, and we're back up to sort of 85 degrees ready for the sparge. So boiler, that great big copper thing. It's twin walled, it's made out of 2 mil stainless, it's heavy duty kit. It has a 9 kilowatt heater, but because I'm only on single phase electric, I only wire up 2 of the elements in it to my control panel. On my control panel, I've got a setting on there where I can do a manual boil, which makes use of 2 of the elements. That's your 6 kilowatts. And once it's come to boil and you've got a nice rolling boil there and you pitch your hops in, I turn a knob around a switch and it takes it down to just using 1 element. So 3 kilowatts is ample to keep that boiling over. So probably an unfortunate phrase of boiling over. We've never had a boil over, to be honest. Nice big plate heat exchanger. Yeah, that's really efficient. That'll cool down I mean, today we did probably about 55 litre batch, and that cooled that down from your boiling, well, let's say less than boiling, from about 85 degrees straight into the fermenter at 20 degrees, and that went through in about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, and that was pumping out and cooling. So that's really, really useful. All my control panels are DIY. My dad used to be an electronics engineer, so he helped in the early days in building stuff. So made it big. And you can see we've just added the extractor above the copper, and we've got one of those little blue light bug zapper things as well. So does it work? So pictures from yesterday or today, actually, because you can see the fermenter there with plenty of foam on the top following the boiler. So you can see fully installed, obviously hot liquor tank, mash tun, etc. Got my motorized grain mill on the side here as well. Yeah, we got through that 12.5 kilos of grain, went through in under 10 minutes. It was like fantastic, yeah, really good. Control panels across the top, starting from the left. There's a little tiny one at the top here. That's partially work in progress. It's basically got the control switch for the little pump that sits around. It's quite small, but you can see there's a tiny little pump in there that recirculates through there. One temperature probe comes in through the middle here, so that's taking the temperature of the hot liquor tank, so I know what temperature my sparge liquor is going to be and the water I'm going to sort of pitch in to start with when I do the mashing in. The next one panel, that's got a couple of PIDs in here. One will control the heating element in the hot liquor tank. The other one, again, is work in progress because it was always part of the project to have a proper HERM system in place, and the other PID will control a HERM system. Again, it's work in progress. The other thing, I mean, those guys who do large brew lengths, I mean, I'm not seeing Richard on tonight, but I know he does large brew lengths. I'm not sure about Fraser, what sort of brew lengths he's going to do in his garage, but when you've got a 100-litre tank up here, you need to have fairly accurate calibration on a sight glass. If you don't, you've got to count how many 2-litre jugs of water you put into your mash tun and how many times you actually miscalculate or, yeah. So part of the project I'm going to put in here, it's like Raspberry Pi type setup. And the recirculation system on the hot liquor tank is going to have a reed valve system, and it will calculate the number of cycles the reed valve turns over. And that will equate to how many litres of water I'm pushing through the system. And the Raspberry Pi will then automatically shut off my pump when I've got enough water into my into the mash tun. So, but it's been work in progress for about 3 years. So you got that's the panel there. The other one over on the side here, that's the one my dad built, based it for me. And there's still a tiny one down here on the right. That's purely a pump speed controller for the pump that's sitting on the floor. So you got a little pump, tiny one for the recirc on the hot liquor tank. Another pump is under the framework here for your recirc on your mash tun and for pumping out once you've got to the right stage, or your sort of 60, 90-minute mash, whatever you're going to do. And then there's another pump on the floor down here, which takes it from your copper, feeds it out. You can't really see it too well. You might see it on the second picture there. The little silver thing over the back there is basically a hop filter. But it's so efficient, I can't brew a cloudy wheat beer because it strips out everything, basically. It's got quite a fine nylon mesh bag that sits in it, and that sits inside a perforated steel container. And by the time you've got all the sort of trub coming out of your copper going in there as well, it's just further acting as a filter. Yeah, I just give for hazy wheat beers, no chance. I suppose I could take the filter out of the equation, but and that's your result of today's brew. So yeah, I'm happy with it. But yeah, I mean, the process we've had going on yesterday and today, I've got one tiny leak right on where the ball valve is on the bottom of the mash tun. So that's just tweaking up a couple of nuts there. And on some of these compression fittings at the back here, there's a slight dribble there. It's nothing substantial. So, but everything else is all nice and watertight and work tight. So everything's all pretty good, yeah. Generally happy with how it's gone. So,
is your copper whole hop copper, or can you handle pellets?
I can handle pellets, but I have to put them in a muslin bag.
Right. So the whole hops settle out at the bottom on
Yep.
a privet, and you filter everything through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably. I don't know who was checked Slack this evening, but I posted my wheelbarrow picture earlier on Slack, and Mr. Sanderson said, "I hope my pony gets better." And there's a lump of green sludge sitting on top of the wheelbarrow by the grain, and that's just basically the mass of hop pellets for my Whirlpool edition. So yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with it. It's a few tweaks, but generally, yeah, pretty good.
How big's that fermenter, Mick? And what gallons wise?
Yeah, that's only. It's not the small one, but it's only the 14 US gallon one.
I was going to say, how do you get it in your fridge from there?
Because you can imagine with like 45, 50 liters of beer in there.
Yeah. So does that take two people to get it?
No, I can just about lift it, believe it or not.
Oh, all right. Okay.
At the moment, not a few more years, I won't be able to. But basically, from let's go back again. Where we go? We send. Is it backspace to take back a slide? Yeah. So basically, what I did, I should have done it before, but to get this over to where the fermentation chamber is, I ended up putting on a dolly. You know, I've got a piece of chipboard with casters on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I just managed to lift it up a couple of inches onto the board. I wheeled that across the floor, and then it's only about another inch to lift that inside the fermentation cabinet.
Okay.
But
We'll
what
put
I
it
should
on
do
dolly
eventually,
before you filled it, I guess.
yeah, I will next time. And I'm going to
Mary?
actually raise the height slightly as well, so that the dolly is at the same height as the base of the fermentation cabinet.
Okay.
So you can just nicely slide it over.
Yeah. Sweet.
So,
Mick,
so
couldn't you
no,
use your couldn't you use your pump, your mash tun pump? You maybe could recirc a bit at the end of the boil to sterilize it, and then couldn't you pump the fermenter fill in situ in the fridge?
could do possibly. Yeah, that's another option. We got to buy some more silicone hose. Yeah, I'll probably need about, I think probably about 5 meter length of silicone hose. So
Yeah, okay.
Might save your back.
Do it, Mick.
yeah, probably will, wouldn't it? So yeah, no, I quite like the next size up of the SS vessels, but yeah, it's, I'm umming and ahhing whether or not I go for the next size up, the half barrel one, or the Grainfather 70 litre one looks quite good as well. So I'm still umming and ahhing. I'm going to wait. I mean, it's not insignificant outlay, is it? So I think I'm going to wait a few months and see whether or not I get sort of approved for AWRS, and I can start sort of selling casks and kegs of ale to my local pubs. And if I can, then that'll be good. And then I'll probably will get the bigger kit, so then I can ramp it up. I mean, my restriction, I mean, I heard Fraser say to start with, he did a couple of brews, and both his hot liquor tank wasn't big enough, and his mash tun wasn't big enough. So I mean, the same with mine, because that hot liquor tank, the hot liquor tank is only 100 litres, the same size as the mash tun. And if I do a big beer and I'm pushing my brew next to say 60, 70 litres, the hot liquor tank's not big enough. So while the main mash is on, I've got to put more water on, put the heater back on, and bring it up to temperature. So I've got plenty of sparge water for second part of the mash.
So with that, Mick, sorry, Mick, couldn't you couldn't your first your strike, so couldn't you heat that in your boiler therefore and pump it into your mash tun, and then you'd have the HLT full ready to sparge?
Possibly, yeah. Never thought of that. It would certainly do it a bit quicker, because I've got 6 kilowatts to play with. There's probably 3 in the hot liquor tank.
Yeah,
I could do. But then you've got to pump out from there. Back in. Yeah, I could do. Maybe I'll have a play.
So what you're suggesting is you mash in using the water from the hot liquor tank, and while you're doing that, you're heating up more water in the copper to pump back into the hot liquor tank.
Yeah, so you've got plenty of water, hot water for the sparge.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably cut out a step of that and just use the boiler water as the strike, and then have the HLT as the sparge. So you weren't pumping it backwards and forwards.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You could, because you already got the feed going back from your plate chiller to the HLT, you could put another output from your boiler pump that bypasses the HLT, bypasses the plate chiller and goes straight into that feed. Yeah. And then just have
depends on your timing. I think Paul's idea is probably better if your hot liquor tank is already up to temperature first thing in the morning, when you first come in to do your brew, because then you can get straight on with the mash. And while the mash is in progress, heat up the water, refill the hot liquor tank with the sparge while the mash is in progress. Because if you're starting from cold, unless you've got a timer, of course, on your boiler, that would work. That would be fine. It's about being ready to start as soon as you come in, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've got a timer on the middle control panel for the hot liquor tank. So, I mean, I can set that at whatever time.
What about for the copper?
Sorry?
What about for the copper?
No, there's no sort of a timer. Yeah, that's a manual.
Yeah, so you'd probably need to have a timer on your copper if you wanted to use that water in the mash, and assuming you want it to be up to temperature as soon as you come in. So it's on a timer. Yeah, you could do either.
You could do that. That then gets at serious electronics if we're going to be switching on 6 kilowatts and we want timer controls, isn't it?
It is. That's why the hot liquor tank might be your better option for having your mash water ready, and then use the copper to heat the water to put back in the hot liquor tank while the mash is in progress. Yeah, and get that 5 meters of silicone hose. Yeah, especially if you're moving up to 70 litre, you're not going to carry that.
No.
Or if you've got it on a dolly and it's a flat surface into the fermentation chamber, you could just roll it in, couldn't you? Leave it on the dolly.
Yeah, it should just shove over, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
You're slopping all over the place. Don't do it.
Have you thought of using your hop filter as a hop back or a hop rocket? And through it?
Yeah, I have done. I can do. I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't got a really close up, but probably that picture on the right, you can just about see it. It's quite substantial. The whole thing, the stainless steel canister that everything, all the gubbin sits in, is probably about 12 inches deep and about sort of 4 or 5 inches across. It's got a little sort of like a tri-clamp bit at the top that you might just undo with your sort of thumb screw, and then this tri-clamp. It's like a spring-loaded tri-clamp, if you like. And the whole thing is actually sprung down, and it keeps in place the stainless steel perforated basket inside, and then this nylon mesh bag in there. So you could certainly put hops inside the nylon mesh bag without any problem at all. Whether or not it would cope with pallets, I don't know.
And you could kind of filter through the hops.
Yeah.
It might give you some good flavour extract.
Yeah.
Aroma.
You know, I've thought about doing it for quite a while, but yeah, you'd probably get 100 grams of hops in there. Yeah. Maybe we'll have a play. So, right, what's next? We've done that one. That was it, wasn't it? Not back to the beginning. Any other questions on what we've got? So,
I was just going to ask, like, right from that beginning slide, actually, you just put back up.
yeah.
I mean, you said you've built your brewery a couple of times, and you've had your commercial thing going as well. How much, I mean, when you built this one, did you know what to do from scratch? Like everything from the physical construction, the bricks, the wood, the ceiling, the electrics, the floor, the plumbing. Did you already know all of that?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know other people have got kind of similar setups, but
Yeah, I mean,
being commercial myself, I'd run it out of the kitchen. I mean, you know, very jealous in a lot of ways. Yeah, because it's a great setup, and I'd love to have a floor with a drain in it and all that kind of thing, but I just don't have the room. But more than that, it's the engineering side of it. I think that's like, how the fuck do you do that?
Honestly, yours next, Steve.
Yeah,
Let's see yours next.
Yeah, I mean, as a kind of contrast, it's
in the old house where we had that in there, and things weren't perfect in there either, but it wasn't bad.
I did see it there actually.
Yeah, I mean, that slide there. So basically, all the controls are exactly the same. It's pretty much all the same kit. So it's just back to front, if you like. I mean, there you can see I actually had the stand set up, so my hot liquor tank was actually up the top. It was in between the mash tun and the copper. So I got the mash tun was over here on the right, and then the copper this side. Whereas now I've decided to put it in a sort of logical left to right, going for a normal sort of gravity feed system.
Yeah.
So,
Mick, is your plan to make money from this venture, or is that just?
For God's sake, no.
If it happens, it happens.
I can't believe you asked that, Paul. Who makes money out of brewing at this level? No.
Well, my point was that a lot of brewers who go into it, there's a lot of capital outlay, and they've got to cover their costs unless they're well funded. That's not an issue here for you. It's your hobby, it's your interest, which you're using to commercial standards. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, if I get through the AWRS and then all goes according to plan, and I can then start selling out to the pubs locally, I've got a couple of guys that are more than happy to take it, then that's fine. If I only have to brew and take a cask or a couple of kegs round once every 6 weeks or something like that, that's fine. That's all I mentioned. I don't want to be at the stage whereby I'm having to get up at 5 every morning and do a brew sort of like 5 days a week. Then it brings in the additional hassle of running a proper business to try and make money. You've got the substantial estate and outlay of all your extra kegs and casks, etc. I'm not getting into that. I don't need that this time of life.
I do that just to satisfy my own demand.
Yeah. Well, you've got lots of siblings there, based on your setup the other week you showed us, or the other month.
No, that's all for me.
Yeah, just for you. Good man.
Mick, something I'm interested in, I don't know if others are, but I'm interested in your cleaning regime.
Cleaning regime, oh my God. Start with, sterilize. I use Star San at the moment, but that's nearly coming to an end. So I'm going to move on back to an iodine-based sanitizer I used to use. Years ago, I used to be able to get like a veterinary type thing called Biodine. And then that went off the market. You couldn't buy anymore. And I think everybody had to sort of jump on this Star San bandwagon. But you can buy this other one. It's brewed by the same, it's made by the same people as Star San, but it's an iodine-based one. And I just prefer that. So
how do you apply it to your kits though? Because a lot of your kits is not very easy to tip over and hose out. And
isn't that the problem when you've got hard plumbing involved? Yeah, you've got the hard plumbing involved. Okay, you don't have to worry about your hot liquor tank. That's only got your water in it and your salts and acids that you put in for your water treatment. Mash tun, yeah, that comes off the stand nice and easy. It's got no electrical connections. It's only got your connection for the pump. I use quick disconnects, cam lock connections. So that all comes off nice and easy. It does have a three-piece, three-piece, the totally disassembled ball valve on there that you have to undo the nuts and give it a clean out every brew, which is a bit of a pain. I've got butterfly valves on the fermenter, which helps. I've got a large butterfly valve on the bottom of the copper as well. So I've just had to replace that because the rubber on the original one I had had all perished. But then it was sort of like 30 years old. So
it's all manual then, is it?
Yeah, everything's manual. We're having to sort of move handles and valves and stuff all over the place.
What about through the heat exchanger? Because that's critical, Mick. From the bottom of the copper, do you reverse circulate through the heat exchanger at all?
No, I only push it through with a pump from your copper, and probably every couple of brews. It's the first brew I've done. I remember after the build, I ran a hot caustic solution through it, and to be honest, there was hardly any crap came out. Even after I disassembled from the other house, I sort of looked at all the pipe work, and there was nothing inside. A little bit of staining from the malt and things. My heat exchanger has been stripped down twice over the last 10 years, and there's never been any hop debris in it.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, just a little bit of staining. So, anyway, I put that down to that really efficient filter, that sort of that pre-heat exchanger filter. So that just really makes a massive difference. And that filter is as it comes out of the copper. So any crap is not even going through your pump either. So your pump's actually doing you're sucking on that and pulling it through and then pushing it through the heat exchanger. It's it is pretty efficient. I'm generally happy with it over the years. Other cleaning wise, yeah, like I said, we use hot caustic and then just sort of all the normal sorts of stuff. I use generally the Murphy's cleaner sterilizer stuff, the white powder that you don't sniff in. So I think I'm not sure what the chemical composition is. I'm going to guess it's similar to PWB or something like that. But I've never used PWB anyway. I've always used the Murphy's stuff, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I don't know if you can see in the old brewery stuff. I haven't got a picture of the fermenter, but I know you guys have been to my house in the past. In this old setup that we've got, when we had the brewery yourself set up, we used to ferment in plastic 50-litre vessels, but they were tall vessels. I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen in a pub that you sometimes get 25-litre plastic vessels for your line cleaning system. And they have a little tiny 2-inch neck on it. And you can imagine trying to clean, well, you can't get anything in except for quite a stiff brush, because you certainly won't get your hand inside a 2-inch fermenter vessel. And then it's like 3 foot deep anyway. So you're not going to hit the bottom with your arms, even if you could. And you can imagine if you've got fermentations going in there and all the crap that your fermentation puts off around the rim of your vessel, and the cleaner sterilizer stuff used to just shift that like nothing else. It used to dissolve everything.
How did you apply that? How did you apply that? Is that with a spray? Is it with a bucket and a sponge and a rubber glove? Or
yeah. Well, to be honest, I should do, but I very rarely use gloves unless I'm handling the sort of sulfurics and phosphorics when I'm doing water treatments and stuff. But normal cleaning stuff, I don't even bother with gloves.
So it's all manual again.
Yeah, manual with a green scrubby.
Yeah,
I find like even with the PBW and the other sort of bicarbonate alikes, they dry out your hands like something crazy.
Yeah.
So definitely go to using gauntlets with those now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, just hands and knuckles just crack up.
Yeah, I know it's pretty bad. When we had our brew itself business, it was a family business, and my father-in-law and mother-in-law were generally in there sort of 5 days a week during the daytime operation for us, and Viv used to do a lot of the cleaning out of the vessels. And after 6 months, the state of her hands using this bloody cleaner sterilizer stuff, they were a complete mess. And she wouldn't use gloves.
If it was the old stuff, it was like similar to VWP, the sort of kind of bleach based, isn't it? That sort of thing, chlorine based kind of cleaner, sanitizer. Yeah. So the same thing. It would just not good to have in your skin a lot. Yeah.
Well,
not caustic, but not far off.
Yeah.
70% of what we do is cleaning.
Yeah.
And pretty much all the rest of it is waiting. and and yet we don't spend a lot of time figuring out how to make our cleaning better. And I'm just as guilty as everyone else. So that's why I'm interested in what people do about cleaning, because it's the one area, I suppose, that kind of consumes us, but we give the least attention to.
Yeah.
You've got to be absolutely anal about cleaning, especially in the commercial sector, as Mick's in. And that's, I think he said he takes apart his ball valve after every brew. I think that's very, very anal. I do that after the end of every brew session. You'd be surprised. You've run cleaner through it, and you think it's clean, you take it apart, and you still find bits and pieces in there. So you can't be too careful about your cleaning processes.
Well, particularly ball valves they're sanitary, but there are little nooks in little sort of bits where the ball is that trap works, and then that sits there, and 2 weeks until your next brew, it's turned to mold basically. So
they've got to be cleaned half open.
Butterfly valves, completely different thing. They are completely sanitary, and you can clean them properly, but not ball valves, I don't think. I mean, I on my kettle, I take the ball valve off every time I brew in it. Same with the fermenter. And to answer my personal view, Les, as you said, is cleaning is one of the most important things of brewing, and also the biggest ball ache. So my view is I buy the best sort of cleaning stuff I can, and I don't skimp on it. So I when I found PBW, I was like, oh, this is great, and I use the Chem Clean now because I can buy it from, or I've managed to buy it from brew to bottle or something like that. I bought like a big 5 kilo bucket or 10 kilo bucket of it or something like that. It lasts forever. So I use that, and like Mick sort of I had a 4-star sand, sort of change those around, but basically just buy good chemicals and don't skimp on it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, it's just a question of how you apply the things, because if it's all manual, that's quite a lot of work. Not so much at most of our scale, but certainly when you're looking at kind of nano brewery scale kit, it's especially if it's got hard plumbing as well, where you can't really move things around very easily. That's more of a challenge, I would think.
Should have seen the BrewCon talk on farmhouse brewing. You wouldn't bother cleaning ever again. There's mad Polish blokes knee deep in cow shit with these wooden fermenters.
Oh,
It's
If you want
brilliant.
everything to go down to 1.000 and taste of barnyards, that's great.
Yeah. It was a bit of an eye opener though.
Or vinegar. Yeah.
Mick, packaging. You talked about casks. I know you used to do bottling, and I have a few of them. They're very nice as well. Are you still planning to bottle? You mentioned cans.
yeah.
What about storage of the filled packaging? Have you got somewhere cool to store them in hot times?
No. I mean, I've thought about. I've got a space here at the back of the garage and the back of the annex, etc. So I could go and get one of those small commercial chillers, like Steve. I know. I think Steve's got one. Is he still on?
Yeah, I've got one of those walk-in fridges in.
Yeah, you can get them quite small, so like a meter square or something. If you really wanted to go that tiny, couldn't you?
Mine is 1.5 by 2 and a bit meters square, so about the same size as a shed, in the place where a shed should be. But I bought it new just because, like we were talking about chemicals, I didn't want to piss about at the beginning. But you can get them. You can get that stuff real cheap off eBay if you go and pick it up yourself and rebuild it yourself. Wipe the blood off, because usually it's been used in a butcher's or something like that. You know what I mean? Not always by any means, but you can pick that stuff up really cheap, a few £100.
You can run it on single phase as well, can't you?
Yeah, mine is.
Chillers running in the condenser, etc.
Mine's 13 amp.
3-phase for it.
Yeah, I ran the electrics out to the garden, and everything is still on 13 amp.
Yeah.
Even the big fridge. It was a particular one that was just household plug. So I haven't got anything that's like 3-phase or anything like that yet. Even the big fridge, yeah. But yeah, you can. I mean, it might be worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the space. I mean, so that would be something that's potentially I could put in if the demand is there. But if it's a case of I'm only going to be brewing every month, every 6 weeks, and a couple of casks to supply local pubs, then in theory, it's going to be brewed, conditioned for a week or so. Then it's going to be into the pub cellar, isn't it? So, and I won't be brewing at 30 degrees. Like we had this year, it was horrible. So,
Mick, what did you brew today?
It didn't go according to plan. No shit, Sherlock. I was going to do a copy of my Ghost Ship clone called Southward Pirate. Okay. And we came across problems when I went to my malt bins, and I'm thinking, right, I want how many kilos of pale, how many kilos of this? And the inventory in Beersmith was totally out of sync with what I've still got in the bins. I mean, part of the reason for doing the test brew today, believe it or not, that malt is 3 years old. And I chewed it and smelt it and I brewed with it. And I can't tell that it's 3 years old, honestly. It was crushed yesterday, and then we mashed in, and did overnight mash. So it was freshly crushed. It was whole grain. And honestly, I cannot taste that it's 3 years old. It doesn't taste the slightest bit stale to me. Maybe we'll find out in a few weeks, in a few months, when we actually sort of go and taste the beer. I don't know. But so yeah, we were missing on several of the key moments. But the only thing I really had in there that I put in a load of crystal rye in there because that's the one thing it's famous for. That's where you get your spiciness from and your little bit of colour. Put your rye in there, and you get your colour from your crystal rye. But say it's had a mixture of Marisota Pale, a Pale Munich, and a little bit of Pilsner in there as well. So I've got 3 base malts in there where it should all be Marisota.
It's a user-upper, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bits of beer.
It's kind of a clone.
And the same thing came around to the hops as well. I then went to think, right, okay, I need, so I forget what, I haven't got the recipe in front of me, it's still out in the garage. But it was a case of, okay, I need 80 grams of Chinook to start and 100 grams of Cascade. Okay, yeah, they're definitely in there. My inventory said I've got 300 grams of Cascade somewhere. I couldn't find them in the freezer, could I? So.
Whereabouts are you storing like all your grain, hops and yeast, Mick?
Where am I storing it? Oh, okay, right, let's go back to. Oh yeah, that one. Oh, too far.
Ooh.
Scroll down the slide. On the outside shot. Where's it gone? No. I know it's there somewhere. It's there somewhere.
The one above that, Mick.
Oh, there you go. You can see on that one there. See on that picture there?
Yeah.
On that bit, see all these plastic bins outside?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, these sort of like 25-litre mango chutney barrels.
That's a lot of mango chutney.
I didn't eat it all, I promise. Again, I've had those for 8. I've probably got 6, 7, 8 of those. Some of them had lime pickle in, some had mango chutney in, etc.
You like a curry, don't you, Mick?
Yeah, 25 litres lime pickle, mate. Eat down you.
Everything tastes of mango IPA.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. No, they're really, really good.
Wait, they're great. Where'd you get them? I mean, I've got some.
They keep them airtight. The plastic is so thick as well. I mean, I've never had rats get through them or anything. So
yeah,
and all my grain stays in there. It's like I say, I've got grain that was 3 years old, and it's airtight. So yeah, happy with that.
Where'd you get them? Where'd you get them from?
I've had this a long time. Again, I think it was on eBay and search for them on eBay.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of traveling at the time when I bought them, and I had to go to. I picked them up from a guy at the back of a transit in a lay-by somewhere near Wolverhampton.
I know.
One day.
If you search eBay for mango chutney barrel, you'll find them. It's like 35
They're still
litre.
available, James, yeah.
Yeah, they're on there for like, looking at it now, like 16.99 seems to be the going price for a 35 litre barrel.
Wow.
They've gone up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Even so, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not annoying.
I'm
they
sure if
are
you-
heavyweight stuff, aren't they? If you imagine this sort of stuff is not made in the UK, is it? I mean, so that's going to be made in India or Pakistan or wherever, and that's going to be shipped over on a boat in those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are pretty resilient.
Nice.
And hops I keep in the freezer. So
You got a dedicated hop freezer.
yep, full height one. Yeah, not an under counter one, a full height one.
Yeah.
And except for the top two shelves, it's it's all hops in there. So someone will get a bit old.
When can we come and brew with you, Mick?
Yeah.
When do you want to come and brew? Oh, you got to get in the queue because my son wants to do the next one. My son lives over in Portsmouth, and he's had a hop plant in his garden for the last 5 years, but he's never done anything significant. I said, well, first of all, you've got to put it in the ground rather than just like a 3 litre terracotta pot. Secondly, you want to put some trellis up the back of the house to grow it up. So he did that this year, and it went nearly up to the roof. And he's had probably about half a kilo of hops off it. So he's well happy. So yeah, he wants to come and use his hops and then do a brew. Yeah, I mean the whole point for those guys that have been on before, part of my sort of business plan is, God forbid, when the mother-in-law is no longer here, we're going to be running Airbnb, and you can come and do a brew day and sort of stay over, and so you don't have to worry about traveling. It's public transport where we are is actually absolutely abysmal. So, and we were half an hour from Southampton anyway, so that's your nearest mainline train station. There's no trains down here. So yeah, when we get the business set up and that, maybe in a couple of years' time or whatever, then yeah. But if you fancy a trip down to the New Forest, I know I was talking to Serge on Slack in the week, because he does a lot of his bike riding and things. For those guys that read the Slack, and he was after some beer crates, and I've got a few spare ones here. So he said, yeah, if I come down the New Forest on my bike ride, he said, I'll pop by and pick them up. I thought, okay, yeah.
You might be waiting a while, Steve. But you're welcome to come and brew on my Burco if you like, my little Burco boiler.
Got space in the garden for tents, Mick.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We did a Jubilee party here earlier in the year, and we had 18 people staying over on the night. So we had all the bedrooms filled up. We had 3 people camping in the garden with tents, and I've got a large summer house, and we had 4 people sleeping in there as well.
I'm already looking at routes.
We'll be in touch.
Sorry, which town are you in, Mick?
Which town?
Wow.
Village.
What area? The
SO45 1YG.
Don't know that yeast, SO45.
Did I? Yeah, I wouldn't use it if I were you, Paul. Who's on Google Maps then? James is.
just having a look.
Here's the screen.
Head
Probably
down
on
that way
Twitter, I guess.
fairly regularly to go and see my dad. So
Really?
yeah. Well, my
which
dad's down
town?
in Dorset, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I head down the A31. So yeah, wouldn't be too far off.
No, we're not that far. So we're if you come sort of down the M3 and then you hit the M27 bit, and once you get to sort of the M27, we're about half a mile from, about half an hour, 25 minutes from Southampton. We're right the way down on the coast though.
Beautiful.
Any more questions, people? No.
No. All right.
Cool.
Well,
Hope that was interesting for you.
thank
That
you
was
very
excellent,
much,
mate.
Mick.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I know it's
everybody.
been a long time coming. Thank you very much, guys.